Elise, it's me. I found it. All of it. Everything. The file's attached. Don't open it yet. Wait until I tell you when. I love you. I'll call you tomorrow.
That was recorded at 11:47 at night on the 8th of November 2016 by a man named Marc Delcourt, alone in his apartment in Belgium. Attached to that message was a 34-page file that named the man who would murder him 6 hours later.
6 hours, he'd already solved it. He just didn't know he was about to be the victim.
And the sister he sent it to, she was in Buenos Aires. She didn't open it for 6 weeks.
So the answer to his own murder sat unread in an inbox, while the man who killed him walked around free.
For 6 weeks, the killer had a clean run, right past a confession the dead man had already written. Welcome back to The Cold File. I'm Jake Morgan.
And I'm Dr. Christy Hart. Call me Christy. And I'll be honest, Jake, I read this file twice. And what stopped me wasn't the murder, it was that he asked her to wait. He found 2.3 million euros in fraud, and his instinct was patience.
You came in lit up. About this one, I could hear you halfway down the corridor before the booth door even closed.
Because this is the rare one where the victim was smarter than everybody investigating it. So let's start where he started, that handwritten ledger. Walk me into it.
So picture the town first. Velderbroek, about 27,000 people east of Brussels, strung along a branch of the canal, old textile town. Half the people commute into the city every morning. The other half still work the factories that never left.
And Mark worked one of the factories.
Van der Meers Groep, precision metal components, the kind of place that's been family-owned for 3 generations. Mark was the chief financial controller, 47 years old. The man who signs off on every number that goes out the door.
Okay, give me the human version. Who was he when he wasn't at a desk?
He coached his daughter's field hockey team. Anouk, 12 years old, under 13s every Saturday morning, rain or fog or frost, 40-some weekends a year, the same man on the same pitch.
So a steady guy, reliable, the kind people set their watch by.
Methodical, that's the word everyone used about him. And Christy, that word matters, because the thing that made him good at his job is the exact thing that got him killed.
How so?
Mark didn't trust the digital accounting system. He worked from paper. Physical delivery manifests, supplier invoices, the actual printed records stored in an off-site warehouse.
Oh, that's a personality, not a habit. That's a man who needs to hold the thing in his hands.
Right. And while everyone else was looking at clean screens, Mark was cross-referencing the paper against the digital, and the two didn't match.
And that's the ledger.
That's the ledger. 34 pages, handwritten and printed, that he reconstructed by hand over 4 months. 6 years of falsified supplier invoices, 3 shell companies named in it, Nordvast Trading, Ateliers Contern, and Meridian Freight.
By hand. He built a forensic accounting case at his kitchen table at night.
73 months of transactions, 2.3 million euros diverted out of his own employer. And here's the detail that tells you everything about why this worked. The digital system had already been altered. Someone went in and cleaned the records.
But not the warehouse.
But not the warehouse. The paper manifests in that off-site warehouse were never touched, because whoever altered the digital files didn't think anyone would ever drive out there and count boxes by hand.
Mark counted the boxes.
Mark counted the boxes.
Jake, that's the whole case in one sentence. The fraud was invisible to anyone who trusted the screen. It was only visible to the one man who refused to.
On the cover page, in his own block capitals, he wrote one phrase. Translated, it reads, "Fraud, documentation, do not remove."
He was building it to be filed. He wasn't sitting on it.
He was days away from filing a report with the Belgian Financial Intelligence Unit. They call it the CTIF. That's the body that handles money laundering and financial crime reporting. Mark was about to hand them everything.
Okay, so let's do the timeline of that last night. He's at the office late.
He's at the office late. Keycard records confirm he badges out of the Vandermeers building at 9:14 at night.
Alone?
As far as the records show, yes. Drives home. Well, we assume he drives home. His car ends up at his apartment, and at 11:47, from his apartment, he sends that encrypted email to his sister, Elise. The 34 pages, plus the voice message you heard at the top.
And then the phone goes quiet.
Last activity on his phone is 11:51. 4 minutes after the email sends, and then nothing. The phone is never seen again.
Wait, never? It's not on the body?
His wallet's on the body, cash, cards, everything. The phone is gone. Never recovered from the canal. Never found in the search radius. Nothing.
That's not a robbery then.
No, a robbery takes the wallet and leaves the phone, or takes both. This takes the phone and leaves 300 euros in cash in his jacket.
Somebody wanted what was on the phone, or wanted to know who'd called him.
Hold that thought, because the phone is one of the great open wounds of this case. The last message Mark received before he walked to that bridge, we will never know what it said or who sent it. 6:22 the next morning, a canal freight operator named Wim Goosens is bringing a barge up toward the lock, and at the base of the Nieuwe Brug, the new bridge, the rail bridge, he sees a man in the water margin at the foot of the concrete.
And that's Mark.
That's Mark. 6.2 kilometers from where his car was parked.
Hang on, Jake. 6 kilometers? His car's at the apartment and he's 6 kilometers away on foot in November after midnight?
After midnight, in the fog by the canal.
Nobody walks 6 kilometers to a bridge at 1 in the morning for no reason. He was either lured there or carried there.
And that is the question the first investigators never properly sat with, because look what they did with it. Here's the police dispatch from that morning. Velderbroek Polity, we have a report of a body at the Nieuwe Brug, base of the rail bridge, canal side, freight operator on scene, no signs of a struggle reported, treating as a possible fall.
A possible fall.
A probable accidental fall. That's the working classification for the first 5 days. Man near a canal, fog, dark slippery towpath, he went over the railing, case closing before it opens.
And meanwhile, the ledger is sitting unread in an inbox in Argentina.
5,000 miles away, nobody's touched it.
What's the physical evidence at the scene? Anything?
Almost nothing. One torn scrap of navy fleece on a bridge bolt. That's it. No weapon, no witness, no struggle the responding officers could see.
So I understand why they reached for fall. On the surface, it's the boring, likely answer. A tired man, a wet railing.
On the surface. And then the autopsy comes back, 14th of November, Leuven University Forensic Pathology. And Christie, this report ends the fall theory in a single paragraph. 2 distinct impacts on the back of Mark's skull.
2.
The primary one, a depressed fracture, an arc about 40 millimeters across, smooth, cylindrical, struck from behind at close range. And the pathologist is explicit. That wound is inconsistent with the rough concrete abutment he was found against.
So the first blow didn't come from the bridge.
The first blow came from a smooth, round object brought to the scene. The second fracture is the fall itself.
Okay, that's the line I circled. Somebody hit him first, and then he went over. The fall was the cover, not the cause.
Somebody brought a weapon to that bridge, a cylindrical blunt object, think a length of pipe, a steel tube. You don't carry that to a canal towpath at 1 in the morning by accident.
That's premeditation. That changes every single suspect, because now you're not looking for someone who lost their temper, you're looking for someone who packed.
And the moment that report lands, the case is reclassified as homicide. The local police hand it up to the Federal Judicial Police, the FGP, and an inspector named Cohen Mace opens a criminal investigation.
And now we have a real murder inquiry, so who's on the board?
At this point in November, only one of our names is even in the frame, because remember, the ledger still hasn't surfaced. Nobody knows about the fraud yet. So the early investigation is built entirely around Mark's personal life.
Which means the marriage.
Mark was separated 14 months, contested divorce from his wife, Brigitte Class.
Tell me about the divorce, because Jake, this is where I'm going to plant my flag.
Go on, plant it.
Here's what the file gives us, and as a profiler, it makes the hair on my arm stand up. 6 weeks before Mark dies, he changes the beneficiary on his life insurance, 350,000 euros from Brigitte to their daughter Anouk.
Mid-divorce.
And Brigitte's own solicitor put it on the record in a court filing as, quote, deliberate economic aggression.
That's a hostile phrase to have, floating around 6 weeks before a homicide.
It's more than hostile. Look, the statistics are the statistics. For a married or separated man who dies violently, the single most dangerous person in his life is overwhelmingly his current or former partner. And here we have documented financial grievance, an adversarial legal process, and a freshly worsened position. That is the textbook escalating domestic profile.
And her alibi?
Soft. She says she was at her parents' home in Namur all evening, corroborated only by her parents and her brother.
Family alibi? The weakest kind.
The weakest kind. So I'll say it plainly. Coming out of November 2016, with what's actually known, Brigitte Claes is the right place to look. The money motive is real, the anger is documented, the alibi is family only. I'd be looking hard at that marriage too.
And that's exactly what Inspector Mace did for a year.
A whole year on her.
Hold that, because I want to push back on you, and I want to do it now, before the ledger even shows up.
Push.
Here's my problem with the domestic theory. And it's a problem of method. Look at how Mark died. A cylindrical weapon brought to the scene, a body moved 6 kilometers from his car, a phone removed and never found. Christy, that's not the texture of a divorce that boiled over.
What's the texture then?
That's a logistics operation. Somebody planned the location, planned the weapon, and planned the disposal of the one device that could tell us who contacted him. And the night that happens is what? Days before he files a fraud report that names 2.3 million euros.
You think the timing is too clean to be a coincidence?
I think the man who has a multi-million euro reason to silence Mark is a more frightening figure than an angry ex-wife in Namur. And I think when we meet that man, you're going to see something the investigation underestimated for years. The resources to build a perfect alibi.
Okay, but Jake, hear me. Right now, today, in your own evidence, there is not one physical thing connecting any corporate figure to that bridge. Not a tire track, not a witness, not a hair. You've got a motive and a feeling.
I've got a motive and a feeling. You're right.
And I've got documented grievance and a soft alibi. So as of this point in the story, the evidence is genuinely on my side.
As of this point in the story, it is. And that is precisely why this case went cold for 7 years. The obvious red was the domestic one, and the obvious red swallowed the whole investigation.
All right, before we let the ledger change everything, who else is on that board? Because you said 3 photos.
3 photos. Brigitte's one. The second is a man named Florian van der Meersch,
The family name, the company name?
the chief financial officer, son of the founder, Mark's direct superior, the man with executive authority over Mark's entire department. He is, and I want to be careful here, the subject of every single page of that ledger.
Every page.
Every falsified invoice traces back to shell companies Florian controlled. But, and this is the whole case hit. Florian has an alibi that in 2016, nobody could touch.
The green note, Maastricht.
Maastricht. 112 kilometers away in the Netherlands, a brasserie on the Vrijthof, a credit card receipt, and 3 business associates who swear he was at dinner with them all evening. His phone pinged a Maastricht tower from 7:45 until past 11.
So the man who lives in every page of the murder motive was provably in another country.
Provably. By receipt, by witnesses, by phone. The original team looked at that, looked at the impossibility of him being on the bridge, and wrote, alibi confirmed on a green sticky note and underlined it twice.
And moved the marker back to the wife.
And moved the marker back to the wife.
There's a third photo, though.
Third photo, Samir Akouri, Mark's deputy controller. And there's genuine friction here. Mark had blocked Samir's promotion twice in writing in formal performance reviews.
Oof. Twice in writing, that's not a personality clash. That's a man being told no on paper by the person standing in his way.
The theory the investigators floated was 2-layered. 1, straightforward resentment. 2, if Samir knew about the fraud, he might fear that Mark's report would land him in prison as an accessory.
And his alibi?
Home alone, watching television, no witness, no usable digital trace, nothing to confirm it, nothing to break it.
See, that one stays alive for me a long time. Motive that's documented in the human resources file, plus a completely unverifiable evening. As a profiler, I can't dismiss the man whose career was being strangled by the victim.
And he wasn't dismissed. Samir stayed under peripheral suspicion for years, never cleared, never charged, just left hanging.
So let me lay out the board as it actually stood. Brigitte, strong motive, soft alibi. Florian, the best motive of all, but an alibi that's a brick wall. Samir, real grievance, no alibi at all.
That's the board. 3 people, 3 reasons, and a murder that's starting to look unsolvable.
And the one document that could break it open is still sitting unread in Buenos Aires.
Until the 19th of December, because that's the day Elise Delcourt finally comes home.
She gets back from Argentina and opens her email.
She gets back, and there it is. 6 weeks old. A message from her brother she didn't know existed, telling her he'd found everything, asking her to wait, and her brother has been dead for 5.5 weeks.
She told him she'd wait, and by the time she even saw it, he was already buried.
She opens the attachment, 34 pages, and she does the only thing you can do with a document like that. She drives it straight to Inspector Mays.
And now, finally, the murder team is holding the fraud.
Now they're holding it. 2.3 million euros, 3 shell companies, and a dead man who reconstructed the whole thing by hand. Christy, the question is whether anyone connects the document in their hands to the murder they can't solve.
And given they spent the next year on Brigitte, I think I already know the answer.
You do. But before we get there, I want to go back to the office on the night Mark died. because there's one frame of closed-circuit television the original team noted and couldn't resolve. Vandermeer's executive car park. Timestamp roughly 9:40 at night. There's a dark blue BMW 5 Series sitting in Florian Vandermeer's assigned bay.
Okay, his car's in his spot. That's not strange. That's a parked car.
Except his key card logged him out of the building at 7:53, nearly 2 hours earlier. And Mark badged out at 9:14, which means Florian's car was still in that lot after Mark walked out the front door.
Huh. So either the car never left when he did, or it came back.
The original team flagged it as an anomaly and moved on. Couldn't resolve it, didn't chase it. A parked car that's 87 minutes too late with a man who's supposedly in another country.
File it under loose ends.
File it under loose ends. Hold that timestamp in your head, Christy. 9:40 in the car park. We're going to need it later.
Noted. But I'm not letting you off the domestic theory that easily, because a year of investigation is about to land on Brigitte Class, and I want to know what they actually found.
What they found, Christy, was a year of their lives. From January 2017 straight through December, Inspector Mace pointed the bulk of that murder inquiry at Brigitte Claes.
Okay, and I want to be fair to him here because I'd have been tempted by the same door.
7 formal interviews. 7. They pulled her phone and extracted everything off it. They ran a full financial audit on her, bank accounts, the divorce filings, every euro moving in and out.
7 interviews is a lot. That's not routine, Jake. That's a team that is convinced.
That's a team that has decided. And on paper, I understand why. You've got the beneficiary change. You've got deliberate economic aggression in a court record. You've got a family-only alibi.
It's the profile. It really is. So what breaks it?
Nothing breaks it. That's the problem. They never find a single thing that puts her near that bridge. No tire track, no phone ping leaving Namur, no witness, no accomplice, no transfer of money to anyone who could have done it for her.
Nothing physical at all.
A whole year, and the strongest thing they ever hold against Brigitte Claes is that she was angry and her parents vouched for her. That's it.
Here's where I have to be honest as a profiler, and it stings a little. The framework I built, the escalating domestic, it's statistically sound, it's the right tool. But a tool is only as good as the case you pointed at.
And they pointed it for 12 months.
12 months. And the cost of that, Jake, walk me through the cost, because I think this is the heartbreak of the whole file.
The cost is this. While the entire murder team is interrogating a grieving, furious ex-wife, the ledger is sitting in their evidence room, naming 3 shell companies. And nobody on the murder side ever takes those 3 names and asks the simplest possible question.
Which is?
Did any of these companies move money on the night Mark died?
Oh, that's the one. That's the question nobody asked.
Nobody asked it for 7 years. Because the murder unit and the financial crime unit were 2 separate federal teams who barely spoke to each other. The fraud was one file, the killing was another file, and the bridge between them, nobody walked across it.
That is so much more ordinary and so much more devastating than a conspiracy. It's just 2 departments not sharing a spreadsheet.
It almost always is. The thing that hides a clever crime isn't usually genius, it's bureaucracy.
So let's say it cleanly for the record because she deserves it. Brigitte Claes.
Brigitte Claes was innocent, completely cleared. The woman buried her daughter's father, got accused of arranging his murder for a year, and had nothing to do with any of it.
And nobody ever stood up and said that loudly.
No. And that's part of the damage of a red herring this size. It doesn't just waste time, it marks a person. There's a local interview she gave years later after the case had gone cold. Listen to this.
They came to my parents' house 7 times. My daughter watched them take her mother into a car. And for what? Because I was angry he changed a piece of paper? I lost my husband, and then I lost my name in this town.
God, that's 2 victims then. Mark and her.
2 victims of the same misread. And here's the part that should bother every investigator listening. The misread wasn't reckless. It was reasonable. The domestic theory was the responsible first guess.
It was the right first guess that became the wrong only guess. That's the trap. You commit to the likely answer and you stop being able to see the unlikely one.
Now, while all of that's burning a year off the clock, what's happening with the other 2 on the board? Because they don't vanish, they just get less light.
Samir first. The deputy, because I told you he stays alive for me, and I meant it.
He stays alive. Through 2017, Samira Khoury is still technically a person of interest. The human resources friction is real. Documented, Mark blocked his promotion twice in writing.
And that unverifiable evening, home alone, television, no witness.
No witness, no digital trace either way. They can't confirm it and they can't break it, so he just hangs there, suspected, Never charged, never cleared.
Which, by the way, is its own kind of cruelty if the man's innocent. You're not arrested, but you're not free either. You're a name on a board.
And here's the theory that kept him there, because it's actually clever. The investigators thought, what if Samir knew about the fraud? What if, as deputy controller, he'd seen enough to know what Mark was about to file, and he was afraid Mark's report would name him as an accessory?
That's a real motive. Self-preservation. That's stronger than resentment, honestly. A man protecting himself from prison does desperate things.
It's a strong theory. It has one fatal flaw, and we don't learn it until years later.
Tell me now, though.
When the forensic accountants finally take the scheme apart, they find the shell company routing was deliberately structured to exclude Samir's access. Whoever built this fraud built it so the deputy controller could never see it.
Wait, so he was walled off on purpose?
Walled off on purpose. Samir genuinely didn't know. He couldn't have known. He was never an accessory because he was never let near it.
Okay, but Jake, sit with what that tells us about the person who built this. They didn't just hide the fraud from the auditors, they engineered who internally was even capable of discovering it.
Say more, because this is your lane.
This is a person who thinks in compartments. They've decided in advance who is allowed to know what. That's not panic, that's not greed boiling over, that's a planner who treats other human beings as access permissions, as doors to lock or leave open.
And that profile does not fit an angry wife in Nimur.
No, it doesn't. It fits someone inside the money. I'll give you that. The architecture of the fraud is the architecture of a planner, not a hothead.
So now we're both looking at the same door.
We're looking at the same door, but Jake, looking at a door is not the same as walking him to that bridge, and you know it. So let's actually deal with Florian Vandermeersch. Let's deal with Maastricht, because that's the wall.
Let's deal with it. April 2017, while Brigitte's getting interview number whatever, the team does bring Florian in, person of interest. They sit him down.
And he's calm, I assume?
By every account, completely calm. And why wouldn't he be? He's got the best alibi money can buy, and I mean that almost literally. A brasserie on the Vrijthof in Maastricht. His personal credit card. A first charge at 8:15 in the evening.
In the Netherlands, 112 kilometers away.
And 3 business associates who dined with him and swear he was there, and his phone, his personal mobile, pinging the Maastricht city center tower continuously from 7:45 at night until 11:12.
That is a wall. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. Card, witnesses, phone, that's 3 independent things all saying the same thing.
3 independent things. And the original team looked at all 3, looked at a man who was demonstrably eating dinner in another country, and they closed the door on him.
Honestly, in their position, I might have too. You can't put a man on a bridge in Belgium when his phone's been in Holland for 3.5 hours.
Unless the phone and the man are 2 different things.
Okay, that's a hell of a sentence. Unpack it.
Hold it for 1 minute, because I want to do this in the right order. First, the alibi held. February 2018, the case is formally suspended. No forensic leads, the Maastricht wall unbroken, the file goes into a drawer.
So as of early 2018, it's officially cold.
Stone cold. Mark's been dead 15 months. His daughter Anouk is 13 now, no longer the 12-year-old he coached. His sister Elise has handed over a ledger that named the killer's entire motive, and the system shrugged.
In the press? Did anyone keep the heat on this?
Briefly, there was regional coverage when it reclassified to homicide. Here's roughly how it ran.
Federal police confirmed the death of financial controller Mark Delcourt is now being treated as murder. Investigators say they are pursuing several lines of inquiry, but more than a year on, no arrests have been made, and the family say they feel forgotten.
They feel forgotten. That's Elise.
That's Elise, who is sitting on the knowledge that her brother found 2.3 million euros in fraud and watching a murder team spend a year on his ex-wife.
That would break me, to hand them the answer and watch them file it.
So here's where the story has to fork, Christy, because I want to come back to that receipt, not the 2023 version, the version sitting in that drawer the whole time. Because everything that broke this case open in 23 was already on paper in 2016. Every piece. Nobody had assembled it.
Wait, you're telling me the answer was in the original file?
The answer was in the original file, the receipt, the car park, closed-circuit television footage, the autopsy, all of it. They had the puzzle. They didn't lay the pieces next to each other.
Okay, then lay them next to each other. Right now, for me.
All right, the receipt. First charge, 8:15 in the evening. Final charge, 11:45. Florian's there for the bookends. That's not in dispute.
Right. The card proves the start and the end.
But it's itemized. Every drink, every course, timestamped to the table, and between 9:15 and 10:45, that's an hour and a half, 94 minutes, there is not one single thing ordered to his table. Nothing.
94 minutes of nothing.
The three witnesses, years later, all remember the same vague thing, that he stepped away briefly.
Stepped away for 94 minutes. That's not stepping away, that's leaving.
And here's the number nobody ran in 2016. Maastricht to Velderbroek, 112 kilometers on the E313 motorway, roughly an hour and 15 each way.
An hour and 15 each way.
And the gap opens at 9:15. Mark badged out of the building at 9:14.
Jake,
And the car park closed circuit television footage had Florian's BMW still sitting in his bay at Jake.
stop. Say those 2 times again.
Mark walks out the front door at 9:14. The gap in the receipt opens at 9:15.
1 minute apart.
1 minute apart. And wait, I need to put these 2 times side by side because I've been reading them off 2 different pages this whole time.
His car.
His car was still in that lot in Velderbroek when Mark Delcourt walked out the front door.
Okay, give me a second because my whole body just did something and I need to catch up to it.
Take it. I've had 7 years of investigators not take it, so take your second.
No, but here's the thing, Jake, and I have to do this because it's my job and because if I don't push, you'll let me get away with it. Pull back for me. Slow it down.
Pull back how?
That closed circuit television still, you told me yourself an hour ago, partially degraded. A dark blue BMW 5 Series in a Belgian executive car park. How many dark blue executive saloons are in that company lot on any given night?
It's a fair hit. Go on.
And the receipt gap, 94 minutes with nothing ordered. I can build you an innocent 94 minutes. He had a row with one of the dinner guests. He took a long call outside. He was on the phone closing a deal, smoking on the Vrythof, sulking in the men's room. None of that puts him in a car.
All of that is true, every word.
So what I've got, what you've handed me, is a car that might be his in a lot near a building he works in and a gap in a meal. That's a coincidence with a good costume. It is not a man on a bridge with a steel pipe.
You're right. And I want everyone listening to hear that you're right, because this is exactly where 2016 stood and exactly why they walked away. 2 suggestive things that don't touch each other.
They don't touch.
They don't touch. You need a third thing. You need the wire that runs from that lot to that bridge. And for 7 years, nobody knew that wire existed.
And then somebody found it.
March 23, and here's the part I love and hate in equal measure. It wasn't a detective. It wasn't a cold case unit reopening the murder. Nobody was looking at Mark Delcourt at all.
Then who?
An analyst at the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Financial Intelligence Processing Unit, a woman named Ines Gudens. And she's not investigating a homicide. She's doing the most boring thing in the building. Archive transaction maintenance. Going through old flagged shell companies, tidying records that have been sitting dormant for years.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. And one of the dormant companies in her queue is a name we have heard before. Nordvast Trading.
Page 7. That's a page 7 name. That's one of Mark's 3.
That's one of Mark's 3. And Inez doesn't know that yet. To her, it's just a flagged shell. But she's pulling its old transaction log, and one line stops her. A payment from Nordvast Trading. 412 euros. Paid to a car rental agency in Tongren.
A shell company renting a car.
A shell company that exists only to move stolen money paid 412 euros for a rental car. That alone is strange enough to flag, but it's the date that makes Inez stop breathing.
Don't say it.
The 8th of November 2016.
The night Mark died.
The night Mark died, 5:31 in the afternoon, roughly 5.5 hours before he went off that bridge.
Jake read me the rental record, the actual agreement. Read it.
Dark gray Opel Insignia, rented at 10 to 7 that evening, returned the next morning, the 9th, at 7:30, and the logged mileage on the car when it came back was 231 kilometers.
Read it again.
231 kilometers. Tongren to Velderbroek and back with the run to the canal and back, that's your 231. It fits to the kilometer.
Okay, that's the wire. That's the third thing. That's the wire from the lot to the bridge.
That's the wire.
Because now it doesn't matter whether that blue BMW in the closed circuit television footage is uniquely his. It doesn't matter that I can write an innocent 94 minutes, a company that exists only to launder Florian's stolen money, paid for a car the night his auditor was murdered, and that car drove the exact round-trip distance to the kill site and came back at dawn.
And whose name is on the rental agreement? A man called Hendrik Roozens. Goes by Henk. And here is the cleanest measure of how far outside the lines this killing was planned. That name appears nowhere in the original murder file. Not once, not as a witness, not as a person of interest, not as a parking ticket. He did not exist to the investigation.
So who is he?
a former logistics subcontractor for Vandermeer's Group, 2011 assault conviction. And crucially, he'd done cash-in-hand transport work for Florian personally for years, off the books, the kind of relationship that never shows up on an organizational chart.
The compartments again. The man who thinks indoors. He didn't reach for someone inside the company. He reached for someone outside it entirely. Someone he paid in cash, someone no auditor and no detective would ever connect to him on paper.
Except for one line, one €412 line he forgot existed, because he paid for the car through the same shell machinery he used to steal the money. He was so careful about the cash that he got sloppy about the car.
So they go and get Rusens.
June 23, federal investigators arrest Hank Rusens. And Christie, he folds in 4 hours.
4 hours.
4 hours, and he gives them the night. He tells them he drove to Velderbroek. He tells them he met Florian Vandermeersch on the new bridge at around 11 at night. And he tells them what Florian was carrying.
The cylinder.
A length of steel scaffold tube in a canvas hold-all.
A smooth cylindrical object, 40 millimeters, brought to the scene. That's the autopsy. That's the exact wound the Leuven pathologist described 7 years before Rusens opened his mouth.
His account matches the autopsy. It matches the rental mileage. It matches the car park closed-circuit television footage that put Florian's car in Velderbroek after Mark walked out. Every independent thread, none of which Rusens could have known the other said, points the same way.
How does he describe it? The actual moment, does he say?
He does, and it's the detail that tells you who Florian really is. Rusens says his job was to block Mark's retreat, to stand where Mark couldn't run back up the towpath. And Florian came from behind, and the thing Rusens kept coming back to in the interview was how calm he was.
Calm.
Listen to how the confession puts it.
He didn't say much. He told me where to stand, and that was it. He never raised his voice, not once, not even at the end. After, he just told me to take the car back and forget the night, like he was ending a meeting.
Like he was ending a meeting.
That's Rusens describing the man who just killed his own company's controller with a scaffold pole.
And that, Jake, that's the profile snapping into focus, and it's chilling because it's so quiet. No rage, no panic. There's a kind of offender who experiences a murder as a logistics problem with an unpleasant middle step. Florian attended the funeral. He expressed concern for Anouk. He ran a company financial review the week after, on schedule.
No visible deviation from routine. None.
Because for him, there was no deviation. Each deception had made the next one cheaper. By the time the deception he needed was a human life, it cost him about as much as a dinner reservation.
Which brings us back to the one thing I teased and didn't explain. The phone. Because his phone genuinely was in Maastricht all night. That part of the alibi was never fake.
So the phone and the man are two different things. That's the sense from earlier. You meant it, literally.
I meant it literally. The working reconstruction, consistent with Rusens, consistent with the gap, is that Florian sat down to dinner, made sure he was seen, and then at 9:15, he handed his phone to someone at that table, a guest who kept it in Maastricht in his pocket, pinging that tower, while Florian walked out, got in the Opel, and drove to Belgium.
And drove back in time to pay the tab at 11:15.
In time to pay the final charge himself, in person, on his own card. The phone was never his alibi. The phone was a decoy he left in another country.
That is the coldest detail in the whole file. He didn't hide, he arranged to be in two places. And when the murder team in 2016 asked the phone where Florian was, the phone gave them an honest answer to the wrong question.
And when they finally asked him, in 23, who was holding your phone during those 94 minutes, he exercised his right to silence. Said nothing.
Of course he did. There's no innocent answer to that question.
Florian had relocated to Luxembourg by then, running a private financial consulting firm, advising people on their money. He was arrested by Luxembourgish authorities in June 23, extradited in January 24, and tried at the Leuven Assizes.
And convicted.
April 25, convicted of the murder of Mark Delcourt.
Okay, I have to do the thing now, don't I?
You don't have to do anything.
No, I do, because I planted a flag on this table an hour ago and I owe it an honest death. Read me the rental line one more time, the 412 and the mileage, just so I'm conceding to the actual evidence and not to your delivery.
€412. Nordvast Trading to Rent-A-Car Tongeren, the 8th of November. Gray Opel Insignia out at 10 to 7 that night, back at 7:30 the next morning, 231 kilometers on the clock.
Yeah, that's it. So here's my concession, and I want it clean. Because Brigitte Claus deserves a clean one. I built the right framework around the wrong person. The escalating domestic profile is real, it's sound, and I will use it again next week on some other case. But I pointed it at a marriage, and Mark was never in danger from his marriage.
Where was the danger?
In his ledger, the whole time. He wasn't killed by the person closest to him, he was killed by the number closest to 2.3 million. And you said it the first time we sat down, the methodical thing that made him good at his job is the thing that got him killed. I heard that as a nice line. It was the literal cause of death.
For what it's worth, your read was the responsible read. It was the read the evidence supported in 2016.
It was, and that's the trap I never want to fall into again, so I'm glad I fell into it on tape where I can hear myself. The likely answer is a tool, not a verdict.
And let's go back and reread two things, now that we know. The car park security cameras, the one I told you to hold, the original team called it an anomaly they couldn't resolve. It wasn't an anomaly, it was the murder. His car was in that lot because he never drove to Maastricht in it. He was about to drive to Belgium in a rented gray Opel. The BMW sitting too late in the bay was him getting ready.
And the green sticky note, alibi confirmed, Maastricht. Underlined twice. That wasn't a fact they'd verified, that was the trick working exactly as designed.
That was the trick working. They underlined the thing he wanted them to underline.
And the stepped away briefly from the three witnesses, that wasn't three men misremembering. That was three men describing a 94-minute absence in the smallest words they could find.
Whether they knew what the absence was for is its own question, and it's not one the court fully answered.
What happened to Elise, the sister? She's the one who carried this.
She carried it the whole way. She's the reason the ledger reached anyone at all. And in interviews after the conviction, she keeps returning to the same thing. Not the verdict, not Florian. The voice message, the fact that he asked her to wait.
Because if she'd opened it that first week,
She couldn't have. She was in Buenos Aires. It was encrypted. She didn't know it was there. But you can't tell a grieving sister that the maths absolves her. She heard, wait until I tell you when, and the when never came.
he protected the file with his patience, and his patience is the thing that haunts her. That's a cruel symmetry.
Now, I told you at the top, this resolution is controversial, and here's why. Florian's legal team filed an appeal the moment the verdict landed, and their argument is not stupid.
The accomplice,
The only direct evidence placing Florian's hands on that scaffold tube on that bridge is the word of Henk Roosens. A self-interested accomplice, a man with an assault conviction, a man with every reason to spread the blame off himself and onto the one who paid him.
everything else is circumstantial. Powerful, stacked, mutually reinforcing, but circumstantial. The payment, the mileage, the gap, the security camera footage, none of it on its own is a hand on a weapon.
None of it on its own. So the defense says, take Roosens away, and what do you have? A businessman with a strange car rental and a long dinner.
And yet, here's where I won't follow them. Roosens didn't invent the wound. He described a 40-millimeter cylindrical impact that the pathologist documented in 2016 in a sealed file Roosens never saw. He described a round trip that matched a mileage figure he had no access to. An accomplice can shift blame. He can't reverse engineer an autopsy he was never shown.
That's the prosecution's whole answer, and I think it's the right one. The corroboration is what makes Roosens more than a snitch. But the appeal is live as we sit here, and an honest podcast has to say that out loud.
So this is a conviction with a question mark still attached.
A conviction with a question mark. A man is in prison for it, and his lawyers are still arguing that the only voice putting him on the bridge belongs to the man standing next to him on it.
You know what I keep landing on? It's not Florian. He's a closed book. Cold, planned, no friction. I find him almost boring in his coldness. What I can't get past is the hallway.
The two doors?
The two doors. The murder team had the ledger. The fraud team had the shell companies. The answer was a single phone call between two offices in the same building. Hey, did any of these three companies spend money on the 8th of November? That call would have cost nothing, and it would have saved 7 years.
And a woman's reputation, and a daughter who grew up watching her mother get put in a car.
Florian built a brilliant alibi, but the thing that actually protected him for 7 years wasn't brilliance. It was two departments who didn't share a spreadsheet. He gambled that nobody would put the receipt next to the rental record.
And for 7 years, he was completely right.
Until a woman doing the most boring job in the building opened a dormant file and read one line that everybody clever had walked straight past.
Here's roughly how it landed when the conviction came down.
Nearly 9 years after Mark Delcourt was found dead beneath a Velderbroek Canal Bridge, a Leuven jury has convicted former Chief Financial Officer Florian Vandermeersch of his murder. The breakthrough, prosecutors say, came not from the original inquiry, but from a single archived financial record. The defense has lodged an appeal.
Not from the original inquiry. That line's going to sit in a lot of investigators' chests.
As it should. Mark did the hardest part himself, at his kitchen table by hand, 4 months of nights. He built the case that convicted his own killer. He just didn't live to file it. And the system that should have filed it for him looked the other way for 7 years.
He counted the boxes. In the end, somebody finally counted the kilometers.
231 of them. That's what it came down to.
A man kept paper because he didn't trust the screen, and it cost him his life, and then it was a different piece of paper years later that finally answered for him. Velderbroek owes Mark Delcourt a quieter bridge than the one it gave him.
Convictions in. The appeal's alive. Whether you call this case closed depends on how much you trust the man who stood next to the killer, and that one, Christy, I'm handing to you.
Then sit with this one before you decide where you land. A confessed accomplice helped block a man's escape so he could be beaten to death, and his testimony is the only reason anyone was ever caught. Do you want him believed or do you want him punished? You can't fully have both, and that discomfort is exactly why you'll be thinking about it tonight. Next week, we're stepping into something where the answer everyone accepted was the one nobody ever stress tested. Follow the show so it finds you, and we'll sit in the uncomfortable part together. I'm Christy Hart. Thanks for being in the room.